home of the Vikings was a grim and bleak place. For most Scandinavians, life in the Viking era meant a lifetime of uncertainty, hard work on the farms, and an early death around their 30th or 40th year. For those who took up the Viking life in the literal sense of the word, being a pirate or a plunderer, or those who traveled to colonize or trade, life would be even shorter. All of them ran the serious risk of drowning at sea in the event their fragile ships would be hit by a storm or would disintegrate upon a rocky coast. Traders always ran the risk of being attacked by pirates. And for every Viking warrior who returned home with a bag of silver or had won a farm for himself on newly conquered territory, there must have been at least one other who was cut down on the battlefield or died of a disease in an unhygienic winter camp. Vikings were clearly willing to take enormous risks in order to gain land, wealth, and fame. This courageous and entrepreneurial society was supported by a worldview that actively discouraged the avoidance of risks. The world in which the pagan Scandinavians lived did not exist to fulfill any higher purpose. And if the gods had truly created mankind themselves, they did so solely for their own sake, so that there was always someone who could be sacrificed to them. If human life was to have any meaning in this world, one would have to carve out his own path by achieving something he would be remembered for. The Vikings, like any other Germanic peoples, were known for their eagerness for battle. It should come as little surprise, then, that conflict is such a central theme in their creation myth, and that conflict is itself a force by which things are created. In the beginning of time, there were only two worlds, the fiery Muspelheim in the south and the icy Niflheim in the north. Between the two worlds was the gaping emptiness of Ginnungagap, a place of perfect silence and darkness. Where the heat of Muspelheim met with the ice of Niflheim, the ice began to melt and drip. The heat accelerated life in the tops, and they took the form of a giant, or Jotun, which received the name Ymir. While Ymir slept, the sweat from his left armpit formed a giant and a giantess, and one of his legs became the father of a son on his other leg. This is how Ymir became the ancestor of the race of ice giants. A cow, called Orthumla, appeared as the ice continued to melt. Orthumla fed herself by licking the salty ice. The 4 rivers of milk that flowed from her udders fed Ymir. On the second day, a head appeared in the block of ice that Orthumla fed herself on. And on the third, the rest of the body came out. This was Buri, the first of the gods, big, strong and handsome. He became the father of a son named Bor. Bor took Bestla, the daughter of the ice giant Bolthorn, as his wife, and together they had 3 sons, Odin, Vili and Ve, the first of the gods, the Aesir. Envious of Ymir, who continued to conceive new giants who outnumbered Odin and his brothers, they murdered Ymir in his sleep and used his dead body to shape the land. His blood became the oceans, rivers and lakes, his bones became the mountains, his teeth were made into rocks, and his hair became the grass in the trees. The gods then took Ymir's skull and placed it above the earth to make the air. The gods then caught some of the sparks and molten embers that blew from Muspelheim and threw them up towards the inside of the skull to light up the heaven and the earth. The gods then put the dark giantess Not and her bright and handsome son Dagr in the sky to follow each other around the world every 24 hours. The gods also took the beautiful brother and sister Mani and Sol and also placed them in the sky. With their movements in the skies, the days, months and years could be counted. The gods created the world as a large circle. The part along the edges the gods gave to the giants to be their home. This was Jotunheim, where the giants waited for their chance for revenge for the death of their ancestor Ymir. In the middle, surrounded by the ocean, the gods used Ymir's eyebrows to build a fortress against the hostile giants. They called this Midgard, or Middle Earth. Finally, the gods took Ymir's brains and threw them in the air to make the clouds. With this, the gods completed their recycling of Ymir. It didn't stop there, however. Odin, Vili and Ve walked along the newly formed sea coast and found 2 tree trunks. From this, the gods created the first 2 people. The man they named Ask, and the woman Embla, and from them the human race descended. The gods gave Ask and Embla Midgard to live in. After they had created humans, the gods created their own domain, Asgard. Asgard was a heavenly city, built high above Midgard. They built the fiery rainbow bridge Bifrost to connect the two domains, so that they could travel back and forth between them. Within the walls of Asgard are dozens of magnificent halls and temples where the gods celebrate and deliberate. From the throne in a silver-roofed hall Valaskjalf, Odin oversees the entire world. Every day he sends his ravens Hugin and Munin to gather news about the world. Like any Viking leader, Odin has his own retinue of bodyguards, called the Einherjar, who are chosen from among the ranks of the bravest warriors who were killed in battle. The Einherjar reside in Valhalla, or Room for the Fallen, a huge room which shines bright with gold, has spears as roof trusses, and a roof made of shields and chainmail, and counting 540 doors, each of which are wide enough to allow 800 warriors to march through it. Every morning, the Einherjar march out of Valhalla to spend the day fighting. Every evening, the dead are miraculously healed and they all return to Valhalla to enjoy pork and meat all night long. The Einherjar are served by the Valkyries, beautiful supernatural women who wear armor and are armed with a shield and spear. On Odin's orders, the Valkyries ride through the sky and descend upon battlefields to decide the winners, who will die, and which of them are the bravest to be brought with them to Valhalla. There they are welcomed with cups and a noisy banging on tables by the Einherjar. Viking warriors had to earn the hospitality of their lord on the battlefield. The Einherjar earned Odin's hospitality by fighting for him in Ragnarok. Ragnarok is a colossal fight that Odin knows is destined to take place at the end of time. During Ragnarok, the gods and their mutually exclusive enemies, the giants, will exterminate each other with fire and flooding and destroy the whole universe. At the end of all these cataclysmic events, a new cycle of creation is foretold to begin. But that is a story for another time. Want to learn more pixelized history? Support the channel by subscribing to it and giving this video a like. Better yet, drop a comment and let me know which subject you would like to see pixelized next. See you next time.